Alright, today I want to showcase a little project I worked on a few years ago as a Christmas present to my brothers. I took the NES game MegaMan 3 and I edited it to add them in. So we have RomHack, RustMan, DougMan, and AlfMan. I want to be perfectly transparent. Alf is not my brother. He just happens to be a character that we all enjoy, so he made it into the game. So what I did is I took the actual code of the game and the tiles that make it up, and I edited them so that it could form the characters, change the language of the game, change the ending of the game. And I'll go into a little bit of the tools that I used for this in a little bit, so stick around and watch. You'll see how you edit the tiles, how you can go into the hex code and make changes to the colors and the text. So first character I changed used to be a robot, now it is Homer Simpson. The colors are something I'll get into a little bit later with the hex editing. It is not always easy to change the color of every single character because a lot of them do share color combinations. So if you make one character one color, a lot of the other ones are going to change unless you're very diligent. This was actually a gift to my brother Doug. He absolutely loves this game, but absolutely hates disappearing blocks. So I was able to add in ladders, so this way he did not have to deal with the disappearing blocks. But there's still that muscle memory, so if you didn't have them, you can still get through the game from all those hours of playing the game. Alright, so we are about to face our first boss, which is AlfMan. I originally wanted to have him throwing cats, but when I edited the magnets, it didn't quite look right because, I don't know, there's just something about it. There were a few things I tried to change, but it just didn't work out, so I abandoned them just to make sure that the game still looked good after all the changes. You will notice that I am not taking damage. I did happen to use a cheat code for AlfMan because the emulator I'm playing on my phone, the slide is not quite working, and while this character is easy to beat normally, without the slide, it's really hard to time it perfectly. So some of the other characters later in the game I will just beat raw because I don't have to rely on slides, but I just wanted to throw that one out there. It's kind of cheating. So the way you edit it, so all of the movements that the character does, there's tiles and pictures that go along to it. So this character, when he jumps, when his arms move, that's all a different combination of those pictures. So if you edit each one of them one by one, and again, I'll show you the tool that I use to do that and kind of how you go about doing that. And it's a lot of fun. It really explores your creativity. It pushes you to play around with the way that games used to be coded way back when, which is fantastic. This is the prime time, the golden age of video games where everything was just new and creative. Alright, we are about to come up on one of the other robots that I was able to add into the game, and it is Hulk Hogan. So you can tell by his red and yellow classic colors and the Fu Manchu, where, and I can't remember, I'll have to rewatch some of the old WWF days. I'm not sure if he ever tossed a ball with a rope on it. He might. This might be a little bit out of character. Might not be quite K-pop, but that's okay. I thought that was one of the more entertaining robots that I was able to edit. And similarly, following the same 80s wrestling vein, we added Bret the Hitman Hart, which I mentioned before, the coloring isn't always consistent because if you change one color, it changes the others. So the pink and black Bret the Hitman Hart colors were very important to me. So I wanted to retain those, and that ended up changing many things in the game to pink and black, such as these characters that you're seeing. Normally they were like a orangish yellow, but now they're all pink and black throughout the entire game, which it's well worth it to keep Bret the Hitman Hart pure. Alright, so now we're about to face RomHack, and so a lot of the characters I chose on each of these boards do have like something special related to kind of each of my brothers, so I kind of catered it to them. So Ninja Turtles are kind of a thing for me and Rob, so they are going to be all over this. And the Hulk Hogan and the Bret the Hitman Hart were also part of this one. So although they changed on the other board, this was the intended board to add Bret the Hitman Hart to. So that's why you see him here. But again, a lot of these games, they use the same characters on multiple boards. So you just have to change the tile once, and then it shows up throughout the entire game. And when they happen to reuse images, then it all kind of works out. The coloring of the villains, I retained their raw colors. So this was Top Man, and it doesn't quite look like a human, like my brother. But I wanted to keep those colors pure because they ended up changing too much. I tried it, but I didn't quite like the results, so I liked keeping them the original colors. So we beat Hardman before, so we're able to quickly beat Robman with Hard Punch. Hard Punch has always been his weakness since children, so I was able to leverage that knowledge as well as the knowledge of Mega Man 3 and playing it more hours than I can count. Not because I'm bad at counting, because I played it a lot. Alright, so now we have Rob Spin, and here is a little view of what a hex editor looks like. So when you download the .NES ROM version of the game, this is what it looks like. So every single combination here references the text on the screen, it references the colors of the characters, it references what combination goes where. So what we're doing is when we find a tile and we want to change it, we go into a tool like Tile Layer Pro. This is a desktop version. I don't know of any one for the Android that I can use or that I like. This works perfect for me. So when you open up the .NES file, same that we just saw at the text editor or the hex editor, you go through and you can see each one of these 8x8, 8-bit combinations of pictures make up everything in the game. So that's the backgrounds, that's the characters. So it's all here and it's all editable by changing the individual pixels that make up those squares. So as we're scrolling through, we can see that here are the characters, there's Mega Man, there's him jumping, all the different movements that he does and moves throughout the board. Those are all individual tiles that are then placed together in a certain order to make the pictures and make him move. So if we want to edit it and edit the characters, all we need to do is find their combinations as well as all their individual movements. So sometimes you'll be editing it and you'll forget like the top left piece of his head, and you'll be playing, and then that'll look like Mega Man's helmet even though you might have changed him to something else. So there's a lot of playing it as you're changing it. So there's the Hulk Hogan character that we just saw before. Everyone here shows up as the same color. This is just the default color. You can change the picture or the colors of the pictures here. This doesn't control how it shows up in the game. The coloring in the game is controlled by the hex editor and the combination of the color of the code. So what I'm doing is I'm going to show an example of kind of how you use this, how you play around with it. So in that screen on the top right, what I'm doing is I'm pulling the individual tiles in. This is just a viewer. This isn't changing anything. This just shows how they're going to appear in the game in that certain combination. So I'm putting them together, and now where I am now in the middle, if this is where I edit. So I have those different color combinations which reference a certain color from the hex code, and I added a line, and now it added a stray hair to his Fu Manchu. We just shaved it right off. So now if I were to save that and reload the game, that stray hair would appear in Hulk Hogan Bot's Fu Manchu. So while I was trying to figure out what the opportunity to change people, you really got to play through the game and look at a character and say, okay, I could turn this into this person, or you look through the tile editor and say, here's the opportunity. I signed that one because, why not leave your mark and tag something? So there's the Mandalorian, Boba Fett, so character. There's the Rebel Alliance. This is for my brother Russ, who's a Star Wars fan. There's a penguin. I decided to just give him a bucktooth because there's no need to edit him any more than that. That's also fantastic. Signed a planet because I wanted to one-up Chairface Chippendale. I was only able to get part of his name on something orbiting. All right, and then let's see what else we changed. I think I already scrolled past a bunch that I changed. It's very hard to find them if you don't know what you're looking for. There is Steve Blackman, a former WWE wrestler. That was, yeah, because why not? Yeah, I'll play through the rest of the game and show where all the edits are made, and you can kind of see them in action. And you know, there's the title screen. Change it from Mega Man 3 to Brother Man 3, and here are the faces that we saw on the main title selection. So these are actually they appear in a nice, easy format. If we were to resize it, you can see they get all shifted. So sometimes you can actually play with it, just the sizing to get it to be able to edit it a little bit easier, and you can see your changes. So there's Alfman in all his glory. Yeah, so it really is just finding the pictures and then changing each pixel one by one to get it to look like you want it to. Alright, so back to the gameplay. We're going to take on Dougman, which we already saw in some of the tile editors, some of the characters that do appear on his stage that were inspired by him. So let's see what we can get. Alright, so right in the background here, you see Mario. He is a fan of just Nintendo in general. And we have Bret the Hitman Hart, as you can, I think this is the third stage that he appeared on. There wasn't a lot to edit on this page. The little robot guy that was jumping around that kind of looks like a vacuum cleaner, I did try to change him to Scrooge McDuck from DuckTales, but it looked terrible, so I reverted that one back. So that was one of the only attempts that I made that I just thought it was better if I left it as the original character. I just couldn't get behind it, so I left it behind. Alright, now we're ready to take on Dougman. Let's arm ourselves with the most appropriate weapon to take him on, which is the top spin. Mega Man 3 has an order of which you beat the bad guys, because the weapon you get from beating them then works on the next. So it doesn't even matter if you get hit. Top spin takes out pretty much all of his health, so it takes seconds to beat some of these bad guys. So, and because there weren't too many personal things to put on for Dougman on this one, I did add more things that were references to him on some of the later stages after you beat the main characters or the main bad guys. Dr. Wily, you then storm his castle and fight them all there. So now we are going to take on Russman stage, who he's going to... most of this was Star Wars inspired. Those were some of the Mandalorian and Rebel Alliance symbols that we saw earlier. My brother is a very big Star Wars fan, so that was my main inspiration there. So you can see the flashing Boba Fett's in the background, and the fish eggs that were in the original game, turn those into the Rebel Alliance symbol, because it really worked really well. Those are circular, so, and then there's a ton of them. So I was really happy with the references on this board. I think it kind of works out really well. It pairs very nicely. And then there is the bucktooth penguin. However, the coloring of the teeth doesn't actually stand out too well, so it's very hard to tell. It almost looks like it wasn't edited, but that's okay. That was more for myself. I just thought it looked funny. And if you ever get into a fight with Russman, the best way to beat him is the same way that you would beat Indiana Jones, and that is to get your snake gun out, where you can just fire snakes off at him. Russman takes heavy damage from snakes. Indiana Jones would probably just run away. He's not a fan of snakes. So this is another one where it doesn't really matter if you get hit. You hit him with enough snakes, and as long as you're not depleted of life completely, then you're going to be able to beat him. So all of those weapons are also good to keep in mind at one of the final stages, when you have to fight all of the last bosses in a row. It's good to kind of know the order of which and how you can kind of just tear through them. Alright, there is a Homer Simpson bot on the last one. Again, I tried changing his color, but it changed too many other things, so I left him as the pink. It's not clear as Homer Simpson, but I do kind of like the way that it came out. And there is the giant robot that I was able to get my signature on. And then he's dropping the little Brett the Hitman heart colored bots. Because, again, I changed colors and I just like the way it turned out. So I probably could have gone through and see in the hex code which change I made references which character, so then I can keep some of the other colors pure, but it was a heck of a lot of trouble to do that, so I decided to just let it go, and it adds more flair. Alright, we're about to take on Breakman. Alright, Breakman is one of those characters that I was contemplating whether or not I change him at all, but I feel like at that point I'd already put in so much time and I could just use a break. So, I just let him be the break, man. Alright, so this is the first of the main bad guys. Once you beat him, you go to a cutscene. You're able to edit this. So, can you fetch me my cushion? Working on my can. I have androids. Ouchie. So within the hex code, you're able to change the text itself. The tricky part is you can't really add any more. You're limited to the number of characters. So it's almost like writing a haiku. You gotta fit within that. So that's why you can see, like, it doesn't seem like a normal flowing sentence, but I was able to get the joke in. And I am very proud to make an android hemorrhoid joke. It's just the type of person I am. So we saw him before. There is Steve Blackman, the former WWE wrestler. It's one of my brother Doug's favorite wrestlers. There's a picture of him. I'm not sure if you remember him. He used to carry around the kendo stick. He was kind of a martial artist. Never really got too much, I don't know. He was successful, but he was never too many people's favorites other than my brothers. So he always stood out for me, just because I always make that connection. Alright, we are about to beat Dr. Wily. The top spin is the best for him. And this is, I skipped a bunch of the other cutscenes of just normal playthrough. There wasn't anything special about them that I had to edit. So this is the new ending of the game that I was able to add through it as the special Brother Man 3 ending. So Dr. Wily was killed, which is unfortunate. Although, spoiler alert, he does come back in Mega Man 4 and 5 and 6. Mega Man, you've regained consciousness. You're wanted for murder. We need to head to Mexico. We can work. The fields. You can be Juanman, and I, Bob. So, yeah, you gotta fit it within the text. Mega Man ran to Mexico. He won. Won the game indeed. Then we go through the characters. We got Elect Man, really into voting. We have Fireman, can't hold a job. It's tough out there for him. Bomb Man, full of glitter. Don't want him at your doorstep. We have Iceman, so nobody knows it's Val Kilmer. We got Gutsman, he who guts man gets jail. That's a common saying. Cutman, sharp dresser. Great in the tux. Roll, gender role robot. Mega Man has Golden Girls tattoo. Little known fact. Proto Man, new robot, pro toes, pro feet. Proto Man indeed. So adding the ending I had a ton of fun with. It was inspired to come up with a joke for almost everything. Yeah, so now we're just gonna go through the cast of characters. And I gotta say, this was a ton of fun to kind of take this on and just do something fun and something special. I learned a lot. This was the first game that I edited, so I kind of learned along the way. And now that I'm kind of going through it again, I kind of want to do it again. So I'm going to pick out another game and see what I can do, what I can come up with. It might not be this ambitious of kind of making something, changing all the characters, adding people into it, adding little references, little jokes, but I definitely will probably take a smaller step and just kind of tinker around and have a blast doing it. So really appreciate anyone who checked this out. Thanks for watching and enjoy.